like, shoot, I turn around.
Hey, if they get to be an adult and you still have both your eyes, you're ahead.
I am ahead.
They all do that.
I'm doing something good, huh?
That color is so good for you, by the way.
Which one?
That light blue color.
Oh, the light.
Oh, it's the light. I thought it was the shirt. Shows you what I know. Nothing.
No, the shirt is a gray. But the light might make it look like a blue.
It looks like
how you think that.
It looks like a grayish powder blue is what it looks like. But yeah, everything looks a different color on TV.
It does. And I've taken my nephew's the ring light. So I want.
Ooh, I want to try one of those.
Are those supposed to be really good?
Yes.
I don't know anything. I live in a cave.
This is without the light, and this is with the light.
Oh my gosh! Oh, I want one now too.
There's a little clamp for your phone.
For my phone, yes. If I was in a meeting on my phone, I just put my phone right there in the middle.
Wow.
For the whole time.
Oh, heck no.
It's fancy pants. I like it.
I want
one.
I was like this because this is my spot.
Can you see my screen? No.
We can't yet. Oh, Gay and Greg, we have a strategic planning meeting at 4.
I saw that. I just replied to that email.
Oh, I'm in on that. I'm behind on my personal email. So Kentucky Alliance, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I can be on till 5:30.
I'll do what I can to get through everything on this agenda as quickly as possible. So if it seems like I'm being rude, it's just because I'm trying to be respectful of everybody's time. Okay, is that all right with everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Just some housekeeping. We record our meetings for archives and also for people who are not able to make it. They can catch up, and we're going to be covering some things today that we want to make sure that our endorsed candidates can watch. So Jenna, I want to call you Gemma since that's what it says on Facebook. But
yes,
Jenna, we may be experimenting with you, and then people can watch the things that we explain to you so that you can be the example. And
okay.
We're not recording yet, are we?
I thought I turned it on when it. Yeah, it's on.
Okay, that's good. So let me do this.
What are you doing? Smiling?
You can only see my face.
Oh, yeah. I started recording when we got started. So, and that is, we do that every time, so that's not unusual. But I like to just remind people. We're going to go around and do some introductions. If you're new, we'd like to have you tell us a little bit more than the usual, if you don't mind. But those of us that are here pretty regularly, I think we know each other pretty well. So Yvonne, I'm going to start with you, and then if you would call, and then you call the next person.
Okay, I'm Yvonne Rivera. I teach Spanish at an elementary school. I'm with JCPS Leads and JCTA and Dear JCPS and Better Schools, and Save Our Schools Kentucky. I can't even talk today. And, there you are.
Call the next person, please.
Oh, Jenna, do you say your name Fracasso or Fracasso?
Fracasso.
Fracasso.
Yes,
in Spanish it would be fracasso, and I figured you're Italian.
Yes.
The double S.
Yes.
A lot of our words just pick up an S and become Italian.
Yes, add the vowel to the end. Yes.
I'm going to be
rude.
In
Spanish, we have a vowel. We just don't have quite as many S's.
I'm going to be rude. Let's keep it moving, please.
Sorry.
Yes. Hi, I'm Jenna. I teach kindergarten at Maupin Elementary. I have been at Maupin for 5 years, for 6 years. I taught at a charter school in Ohio, which I have a lot to say about that experience in the future. And I'm running for JCTA Board of Directors, Region 1, Elementary CA. And I'm just really looking forward to one, getting involved more, and two, learning more and becoming more educated. So, yeah.
Next.
I'll go. Tyra
Oh,
Walker,
yeah, sorry.
co-chair of the Kentucky Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression, as well as JCTA secretary. Teach at Roosevelt Perry, special ed, 3rd through 5th, excuse me. Can't get it right. Greg, I don't know who else is on here.
Yes.
And he hit mute.
Yeah.
And his picture disappeared.
Sorry. I didn't know I had a safe driver mode. Can you hear me?
I thought it looked like you were on the move.
I don't even know what I pushed, but I was trying to get over to participants so I could figure out who to introduce next. But Greg Titchener, I'm a 14-year employee with JCPS. I teach, I've got 5th and 6th emotional behavior disability students at Waller Williams this year, running for the elementary District 2A seat. And I'll throw it over to whoever Gay calls on.
I think that's it.
Nicole.
Oh, Nicole. Oh, my screen isn't enlarged then. Hold on.
Hello. Good afternoon. I'm multitasking, so I'm sorry that my camera is not on. Nicole Finley, 22-year teacher, 20 plus years at 20 of those at DuPont High School, running for the Region 1. Just happy to be here. Being here, hoping to learn some good stuff today and just getting up to date. Things that's happening, things that can help make our system stronger. Thank you.
Like who? I missed it. What'd you say, Nicole? What's happening?
I said, just looking, what's happening? Yeah,
Yeah,
what's happening? I'm just joking. No, that's not what I said.
okay.
No, I'm just saying, I'm just looking forward to keeping in touch and just knowing what is. I just said what is with an up to date on what's going on in our system. There's ways to better support and make our system stronger.
Thank you.
Is that advice for you, Tyra?
Yeah, I just didn't hear you, girl.
Nicole, your sound is kind of wavery, like making pulsing noises when you talk.
I'm multitasking. I'm on my cell, so
Yeah.
Background noise or something that it's picking up that kind of jams the system. But so if you're not speaking, could you keep your microphone muted? Thank you. I'm Gay Adelman. I wear a lot of different hats, but I think everybody here knows me, and so I don't really need to reinvent any of that. But for the purposes of today's call, I also am a board member of the Kentucky Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression. The Coalition for the People's Agenda is the meetings that we are having today. This is the Education Committee for the People's Agenda. We meet weekly, Mondays every week, and have, well, we've been meeting in person before we started meeting by Zoom this past summer, and we've been pretty much organizing and mobilizing and building platforms and holding school board members and union leaders and various groups that have tried to derail the work that we're doing and oppressing the stakeholders that we advocate for accountable. And so that's been some ongoing work that has been pretty powerful. And a lot of the people on this call have been part of that work all along. And we're getting to some really exciting milestones in the cycle of everything, including the upcoming elections and the General Assembly. And so we were involved in the tax increase. We put pressure on the district to do some things such as we had EARN, the people's vote. So the E stood for an evaluation of the student assignment plan, essentially, so that people could see, we wanted a REAP so that people could see the inequities in the current student assignment plan before they started making changes to it, which there was a lot of resistance, but they finally did it. A is accountability, and no, I'm sorry, A was an anti-racist budget, and we got them to include some language about three mental health counselors at each of our low performing schools, in particular our high minority schools, so that we would have additional counseling available in those schools. And that was actually referenced at a board meeting. So we gave them points for giving us a sign that they were responding. R is a resolution in support of a Black agenda or for the movement of Black lives. The language can still be written. We just want them to agree that they're willing to do this. And Corey Shull has accepted our invitation to work with us to do so. So this is still moving forward as well. And N is about to become the next front page issue for a lot of us, and that is no in-person return to school until it's safe. That is where this conversation will be going next. So we're getting ahead of that messaging while we also fight Frankfurt and power grabbers here at the district level who have shut down communication so that even current union members are not being able to get information so that they can know the facts, know that there are other facts that they should research. And we're seeing some really familiar things that took place back in the 50s. We really are a lot of history parallels here. So it's kind of exciting because we can learn. The Kentucky Alliance is historic. The history that we have, we can build on. We can learn from mistakes that Anne and others that have been part of this work, those that created the Coalition for the People's Agenda the first time to fight the city-county merger, that have been part of police accountability. Like, these are all things that we know what we've done when this happened last time, so we can research that and build on that for the future. And this year's People's Agenda, just this last summer, we agreed to make JCPS a focus, their budget and their policies, a specific focus, in addition to the work that the People's Agenda had done the first time, which was specifically targeted to metro government and LMPD. So this year is monumental and incremental because we have added JCPS specifically to the Coalition for the People's Agenda. So now it comes down to brass tacks and what we're doing about it. And first of all, we have been talking about the same three items really for the last several weeks because they've been on our calendar. And student assignment is, we had for the last 5 weeks, we publicized that we were hosting open meetings so that anybody who wanted to share their concerns with the student, with the board, could come here and we could record the comments. So that's another reason why these meetings are recorded, is we're recording people's comments about student assignment. We've been building and improving on what those concerns are. And I'm going to take some snips from those last 5 weeks of meetings and turn it into a compilation video that summarizes what our concerns are so that going forward, the board knows what we've been saying and what our demands are, and continue to just hold them accountable. Just continue to say, you know, you were informed that this is what our concerns were. We told them, and we've been telling them, we support the changes, but they just don't go far enough. And so we're not going to try to do anything ahead of Tuesday night's decision when they're actually expected to pass the proposed student assignment plan changes. But it doesn't mean that just because they passed it, that we're through talking about it, right? So we're putting them on notice that this is an ongoing conversation, and we want to avoid making the same mistakes and creating unintended consequences that we've made in the past. And the biggest way we can do that is to make sure that the impacted community members have a voice and a seat at the table. And as soon as we can just simply get them to acknowledge that and atone for the way that they've been shutting people out and holding the people that have been shutting people out accountable, then we can actually start to make some progress. And I really do feel like this is that moment. This is that opportunity in time with everything coming together, the perfect storm of everything coming together. But also, we can't forget, this is the home of Breonna Taylor, and this is Louisville, Kentucky. This is LMPD is being held accountable, and so many parallels between LMPD and FOP exist between JCPS and Jcta. And so to be told that we don't have any business getting involved in union elections when it's our taxes and our kids is nonsense. So that is a really, really, really abbreviated synopsis of how we got to where we are today. And if anybody on the call wants to talk briefly about student assignment, about anything that hasn't been discussed, as I mentioned on any of the previous calls, if you've thought of something new that we need to add, this is your moment to say so. And Greg is raising his hand. And then also, I want to make sure we hear from Jenna, just because we definitely know we haven't heard from her yet. So if she has anything she'd like to add on student assignment, we want to make sure that we do that work. So Greg, since you have your hand raised, I will see what you would like to say, please.
Yeah, I just want to mention a couple notes. I mean, we all see what's happening with the movement. If there's a way to pit two sides that have parallel missions against one another, we're finding ways to do that. But also, you know, there's some stuff we need to have real conversations about with regard to JCPS and JCTA. So I think it would be helpful maybe if this group were to put together like a mission statement on what values do we want to promote in driving the conversation forward? Because I think a lot of people are I think you're very driven, and I am too, very motivated by a search for truth. And I think that message is being undersold. And I think we need to be conscious about calling in. I mean, you do need to speak truth to power, but we need to maybe develop a statement that emphasizes calling in as opposed to calling out, and finding collective paths forward. I don't think we've made enough space for that. I'm just going to leave it there. Based on what you said, I felt like it might have been a little perspective driven, and I wanted to add that.
So what does that look like to you, calling in instead of calling out? Because I personally feel like I have done that. Just because people don't see it doesn't mean the effort isn't there, and there's a lot of assumption that goes along with bias.
Yeah, and I'm not familiar with all the fallouts and pushing for truth, but I think there's a lot of stuff that we need to address, and we need to collectively, maybe JCTA needs to have that discussion. Where do we see it being internal, and where do we need community partners and accountability partners such as JCPS, Dear JCPS, and how do we create a communication channel that enables us working together as opposed to bashing back and forth?
Who's bashing back and forth? I'm sorry. This is very one-sided. I'm gonna wait and see what everybody else has to say. But
No, I'm not. I wasn't even considering you the basher. I mean, it's just I'm reading.
But you're saying back and forth, which is enabling language, and I'd like to address that.
Okay. Can you ask a more specific question? Because I'm confused as a rank and file member I'm not privy to the inner workings of either JCTA or JCPS. There's a lot of confusing messages out there, and so I guess my end mission of bringing up that mission statement is I needed to be less confusing for teachers and the direction forward.
I understand. And I would like to see if anyone else on the call would like to respond to you before I wrap it up. Because I think this is probably a deeper conversation than we're going to accomplish today. And it's not even on the agenda. So I don't want to even be disrespectful and say we're not going to talk about that right now.
Yeah.
But you kind of.
Sorry,
Well, the first thing I have been trying to do is to get us all at the table and to mend fences. However, it's like with how things have progressed, that this going to be more difficult than it would have been maybe a year or two ago. So I don't know. I'm just saying that's my opinion. That is all my opinion. But I think because there is a lot, and we're getting ready to discuss it. I don't know if I don't have any comments on the student assignment, but yeah, it's a lot going on social media, and it's messy. It's very chaotic. It's messy, and I don't like and confusing. And so the one thing that people know that about me, I do not like chaos and I don't like confusion. So I would like to nip it in the bud when I see it, or try to, let's talk about it. So, but I think, like Gay said, this is a conversation for another time. We have more time because we only have 34
Well,
minutes.
and this is what I wanted to bring to the Alliance. Like when I replied to your email just now, Tyra, that we've got this call coming up in an hour, although I said I was going to be late. I want to talk about accountability and restorative practices. And speaking of building on our past, I found an old letter that Ann Braden had written. Yvonne, did you ever get a chance to read that? Yvonne looks like she's away from her computer. She wrote a 58-page resignation letter when she left one of the organizations in Birmingham. And it really talks about how we started persecuting each other instead of lifting up and restoring each other, and especially the Black individuals at the time, Black Panther Party individuals, in fact. There became this divide in the group, and they wanted these Black men arrested for money that was taken, and then it became this back and forth kind of thing, and it was very retaliatory. And so I see a lot of parallels to today. And in fact, Ira Grouper is mentioned in her letter, so we could even ask him what he remembers. Like, I think there's history that we can learn from and build on. And so that being said, we need to create some kind of accountability forum. Let's be the ones to lead the way on how this process should work. And so that's what I would like to bring over to the Alliance meeting when we get off this call. So maybe that's where we do is we table this, because I think that may be something we take back to the bigger group, because whatever we come up with isn't just education committee, right? Whatever we come up with is across the board, how we operate as social justice oriented organizations. And just be aware that sometimes the reason, let's go back and study Martin Luther King all over again, because just because people say one thing doesn't mean they mean it. And if you start looking for patterns of delays and denying and this is exactly what's happening. These are people that are supposed to be our allies, and yet they're not willing to come and have a seat at the table. We've been asking for that back, like you said, 2 years ago, when we could have nipped it in the bud. So when they say one thing and they do another, just like Maya Angelou said, trust them. When they show you who they are, believe them. And I think we've got tasks to accomplish that are on a deadline, and this is a bigger picture thing that we're going to have to keep working through. This is part of the healing. This is the restorative practices, is the healing. And so we need to practice what we preach. And there's going to be people more qualified than me, for sure, and broader picture. It needs to be broader it needs to benefit everyone. So
I think we need to maybe look at inviting Sherry Dawson Edwards to host a restorative circle, or somebody like her. And I would like to hear from Jenna before we move on, because we said we were going to give her that space.
Yes. Hey, girl.
Hey, can y'all hear me with the headphones? Okay, thanks. Yeah, for me personally, just being inside the schools, I think I'd actually heard before that Maupin is one of the most segregated elementary school. From the moment I got there, I had a lot of questions, and the kids have a lot of questions. And, a lot of this I'm trying to figure out, wrap my mind around, because it's confusing to me. So I'm kind of in a place right now where, I'm still trying to get my thoughts together. But, when I hear about funding, new West End schools or anything like that, I just wonder how true that is when they're not funding the ones that are already there. And I just can tell a lot from even this holiday break, driving to every single one of my students' homes where they live and dropping off gifts or supplies, you know, the difference in some of the locations they live in was very apparent to me. But, you know, I just feel like I have more of I'm still kind of new to this, opening my eyes to this, where have more of a learner's perspective, but it's something that I'm trying to, as a teacher, wrap my mind around, because my students have asked me questions before and I didn't know what to say. So that's all I have right now.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
I tried to mute, but I couldn't.
I've been there.
Jenna, can you give me an example of one or two of the types of questions that students are asking?
Yeah. I remember even my first year at Maupin when I read a book to them about Ruby Bridges, my students. The book at the end said something like, Ruby Bridges was the start of the end of segregation in schools, or something like that. And one of my students raised their hand and was just like, you know, Miss J, if that's true, then why aren't there any white kids in our class? And you know, that was just something where I didn't have a response for them. And then, you know, that was 4th grade. And then the other side of it, being in kindergarten, you know, just talking about race in general, talking about skin color. I mean, even last year, after having a discussion after the Black History Month Assembly, one of our students in my class asked me, am I Black or am I white? And another student just replied back, like, everyone here is Black. And just stuff like that. And the student just said, why? And I didn't have an answer for them. I didn't have an answer. I just said, I don't know.
Right.
So that's just an example of students wanting to know, whether it's intentionally in a discussion or just them talking amongst themselves. They're very aware, whether they're in kindergarten or 4th grade.
Do you feel comfortable sharing any of your experiences with the kindergarten teacher?
As a kindergarten teacher, is that what you said?
The kindergarten teacher that she's been discussed. Kimberly's been on our calls, for example. Do you feel comfortable sharing any of your experiences about the investigation that took place? Or you don't have to. Just
Is this still under investigation? Are they still investigating that?
No.
Can we save that for another time so we can?
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm sorry. I do want to hear about it, Jenna. I do want to hear about it.
Well, and it may come up again as we go through the agenda, because it's relevant to several things on the agenda. So, you know, I think it's important to use real life examples. I loved her example about the book. I'd love to get a copy of that book and let's find out where they're teaching that lie.
Right.
But also, I think real life examples help us relate much more.
Well, and I want to say something. We talk about school desegregation. This is just my theory. So let me say what my theory is. Black people were going to school, Black people, white people was going to school, white people. Schools were segregated. And to me, I'm going to say this, and I might be wrong. They saw what we were producing out of our schools. We were producing doctors, lawyers, scientists. We were producing, you know, strong Black leaders, educators that were doing some things. So it was like, oh, hold on, we have to stop this, because we can't have them Black people doing, you know, being doctors, lawyers, scientists, and all this other. So we're going to go to the Black community and tell them that, you know what, you all don't have the better things like the other schools. So let's use Louisville, for instance. In the West End, y'all don't have what the East End schools have, because my aunt was one that was went to J-Town from 23rd and Maple. And she was in that desegregation of schools, and it was traumatizing for them. So they got Black people, Black families, to want to desegregate the schools. They want their kids to have this, that, and the third, not looking at what they already had. It may not have been the best building, may not have been the best books, but guess what? We took what we had, we used with it because we are resilient people. And so, I'm sorry, my kids. And so, so when we fought to desegregate schools, it was more so for Blacks to be taught in the white schools, not for the whites to come to the Black schools. That's what it was. Because like Central Negro High School or Central Color, it was Negro first, then they changed it to Central Colored High School or whatever they called it. It was one time it was Negro, and at another time it was colored. And so, where am I trying to go with this? Anyway, so with that being said, we sent our Black children to be taught in the East End of Jefferson County. And then as you see on Ruby Bridges, none of the teachers wanted to teach them. So that's what it was like. You really pretty much had to teach yourself. So we took our children out of a learning environment to put them in and place them in a school that majority of the teachers didn't want to teach them. So the desegregation, that's not what we were, when we say desegregating, it should be a little plainer than that. It was to take our Black kids and put them in white schools so they can be taught with their white counterparts, not for white students to come and be taught by Black teachers, which they should, because that is a complete desegregation of public schools. Plus, if you're going to bus our kids from 23rd and Maple, that's where I grew up. My aunt is not that much older than me, but she is. I don't think that she is. She's at least over a decade. But take our kids. Well, I lost my train of thought. I should have kept going. I should have kept going. Oh, and I lost my train of thought.
You're talking about white kids going to the West End and having Black teachers.
Yes, right? But white people are so afraid of Black people because they don't know us, and that's because the history about Blacks, Africans, and African Americans, whatever that they want to call, whatever name title that we would like to be called. Oh gosh, so it's the kids, y'all.
Well, and
if they, if we all could go to school together and learn from each other, you would lose that fear. If the history is taught correctly, guess what? They'll lose that fear. But they're so afraid to come down to the West End and be taught, or anywhere else to be taught, that before they allow their kids to come to the West End, they will pay for them to go to school.
Right. So what you're talking about as far as some of the things we're trying to avoid is those unintended consequences. And there's some really great material out there. I'm thinking in particular of NPR has an hour-long segment. Actually, I think it's multiple, but there's one in particular called The Problem We All Live With. And it talks about the Ruby Bridges story. And in fact, that might be something, Jenna, there might be some curriculum that you could pull back to answer those students, because there's some good stuff in that piece. But it talks about how we didn't bring a safe classroom environment with the students when we bused them. And also, there's another piece that Tracy, who's been on our calls, but she's not able to join us, I guess, today, sent me a link to that talks about how we drove Black teachers out of the profession too, because we bust kids out of Black neighborhoods and nobody wanted to be taught by a Black teacher in these neighborhoods, then those teachers, that's another reason why the teaching profession is so devoid of Black teachers. So there's some really great supportive material of everything that you're saying, Tyra, that we can incorporate into our educational component of what we take out to the community. Because why reinvent the wheel when these pieces exist, and we just need to weave them in, and as we're bringing people to the table, that's probably part of the program, you know, because I think people tend to put up defenses and think that they have not been part of the problem all their life, and that we have to show them the problem we all live with. And so I agree with you. Did anyone else want to add to that? Anything else on student assignment? Because that's really what we're wrapping up, and we've got some really great material, I think, to put together a nice video that we can send a link to the board members, and encourage them to watch it, because they haven't let us speak at board meetings since the pandemic started. And so there's been no opportunity for the public to comment, and they're moving forward on some pretty important decisions. And by continuing to expose and make it obvious that they've been shutting out voices by doing things where we have to do the work for them, it sets the stage for the future concerns, such as the back to school. When it's time to go back to school and they still haven't opened up dialogue, what are we going to do about that? So we need to continue to keep that, make them uncomfortable, keep shining a light on the things that they're doing to obstruct community input. So the next thing, speaking of that, the next thing is the BSK elections. And Kenyatta is not on our call. So I don't know if she would, next time we see her, she may want to add some things. We had both Natalie and Kenyatta on last week's call so they could talk about their platform. The difference was only by 11 votes that Natalie won over Kenyatta. And however, there were 19 votes. I get these numbers mixed up. There were 19 votes that were duplicates and 20 that were abstentions. And so there's more than 11 votes that could have been cured if they had been given an opportunity to find out what their vote might have really been if someone had asked. So there's not a lot of comfort in this electronic ballot process, and reassurance to the members that their votes are being heard and counted accurately. But the good news is that turnout increased by more than double. So when the first election was held late last year, the turnout after we tallied it 3 different times, the final tally was 518, I believe. And the turnout for the runoff that just completed last week was 1,171. So that's more than double. And that tells us that people are hearing our message and they're starting to pay more attention. And that's good for democracy. That's good for the upcoming election, because the more people turn out, the better results you get, right? So that is, anybody want to add anything to the BSK discussion that I didn't cover?
I'm sorry, I didn't follow closely, but I voted. I didn't follow very close.
All right.
With everything else.
Skip over your comment. You typed in the chat consequences like the achievement gap.
That was for the
unintended consequence that we created and perpetuated. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and some would argue not unintended, right? That it's intentional, that the system is doing what it was designed to do, is one of the expressions. Right, Nicole says. Okay. Next up, Jcta elections.
Can you pull that? Okay. Oh, thank you.
I wanted to get while we have a few heads in the call, I wanted to share some documents. Yvonne, I don't know if you had a chance to review that draft. I know everybody's been really, really busy. By the way, Yvonne made a really great video about scholarship tax credits, and I have that on the agenda, but I just want to give you props real quick because Good job, man. Good job.
Can I go ahead and make because I have to get off and start letting people into
What do you want
our
to talk
meeting.
about?
And the discussion that I've had with several other people. I know Yvonne, and I know it's not you, Yvonne, because you're not. you are a person of color. But I had an issue, still do, it's still my issue, of white candidates running against black candidates. I do not care, and I'm sorry, I'm going to be very blunt, Jenna. And I'm not. I don't even know who you're running against, sweetheart. But I don't know who you're running against.
I don't know either.
Yeah, I don't know who it is, but I know you now. So, so what I'm going to say is I have an issue with white candidates taking the black candidates' seats, and I do. It's not my concern of whether or not that they're for racial justice, because all the black people that sit at the table at JCTA are racial justice. And I'm going to tell you, Chris Rashid, Carol Peace, who is my cousin, and I'm trying to look. Gosh, I'm looking at the screen. Hold on. Kathy Gunn. Strong voices on. I don't know about him missing 2 meetings out of 3, but I know that he has ebony shades of gray with his girls and with his daughters and their friends and things that they do with performances and things of that nature. And I know that if it was something with my son, I'm gonna miss a meeting, especially if it's soccer or anything like that, baseball, whatever he was playing before COVID. I'm going to be there. So I cannot judge him on missing meetings, cannot at all. But they're very strong voices on the board. They make change. They're not one that's going to sit by idle and be quiet. Like I said, they're making change. So I don't feel like excuse me, that it's up to anybody to decide when and if it's somebody else's time to, and Greg and I already spoke, so Greg knows I love him with all my heart. But it's not.
I got something to respond to when you're done too, Tyra.
Okay, I still love you, Greg. I'm not
I
being
love
mean
you too,
to you.
Tyra. No, we can't. We got to get through this culture that is scared of elections. Just because I'm throwing my name in the ring, and I'm really doing it because I want to.
I know.
Feel like I've got ideas for the future, and
I know that Greg
want
will
to be
vote.
part of the discussion.
He will vote in the direction of racial justice, for racial against or for or whatever, not for racial justice, but against racial justice. So with that being said, I just feel like that is nobody should say when and if it's time for someone to for someone else to get experience, because if you're still making change and doing the work, it's not time for them to go yet. When you see this person being stagnant and not doing, then that's when it's time for people. It may be time to replace them with someone else that's going to do the work. So that is my main concern, because we have fought to have and get Black members, board members on the board of JCTA and get involved, that now it's like we're getting ready to change what our board looks like. Excuse me, it hurts to cough. What our board looks like.
I know you got to hop off. I know there's something I want to say in response to you before you hop off. I heard Greg say he has something he wants to say. So how much time can you give us so that we make sure we use our time wisely?
Got 5 more minutes.
All right. I just
maybe I log in on my phone first, so just in case.
Half, Greg. You want
to I said what I needed to say. I mean, I think elections are healthy, and just because I'm running doesn't mean I'm opposing female Black leadership. I just want to be part of the conversation, and I feel like I've got ideas that can help create a better education system of the future.
Right, and he told me that, and I just wanted to reiterate my statement. I don't know if Jenna was in that conversation or even if Nicole. was in that conversation. And when I made that statement, I said that was my opinion. It was my opinion. No one called me to say anything because I've been ill. But when I saw this, when I saw what Gay has presented here, the candidates, that became an issue for me.
So I would like to respond to that.
Okay.
And thank you for sharing what your concerns are, because that helps us uh, explain our strategy. First of all, we are the people's agenda. We have our own platform. So what we are doing is endorsing candidates who support our platform, who either are saying the exact same things that we say, or who are coming to our meetings and participating in building that platform, because we build it as we fly it kind of situation, right? So regarding the example that you gave us, her name she has two different names, so I always get confused. Kathy Gunn, Danelle Gunn.
Mhm.
We invited her to come to our meeting and she declined. So as an entity, as the chair of the decision-making council, I'm going to recommend Nicole, because Nicole has been coming to our meetings and she understands our platform. I don't have any confidence whatsoever that someone who refuses to come to a meeting is going to go out and support the things that we're calling for. And so I'm sure she will. It's possible that
She does.
but if she won't even come to a call, how can I
Well, I wouldn't. First of all, her aunt was the one that was murdered, was one of the lady that was murdered in Kroger. So they've been going back and forth to court with that guy. So there's I don't know why she didn't come, or why, why, and maybe.
All of our meetings are open, and if she truly wants our endorsement, she needs to show us by coming to a meeting.
Okay.
It's that simple.
But I'm still not gonna agree with.
That's why we have a 7.
So, because I don't even know who Cal Shirley is. I knew who Nicole was, but I'm looking at Cal Schuler. Who is he?
He is a teacher.
I know he's a teacher. Has he come to a meeting?
We didn't endorse him. We endorsed Nicole for that seat. He's willing to come and speak, but
all of these people
behind Nicole.
Right.
And we only found out his name like 2 days ago, and we did invite him to a call, and I thought he might even be here, but we had to relay our link to him through another person, and you know how the telephone game goes. So I don't know, because I have been trying. I want to tell you this, Tyra, too. See how I have Patricia and Natasha in red? So we were trying to decide which one of these individuals would support our platform. And so we knew nothing about either one of them. So I sent an email to just those two names. And I was very, very vague because everybody's been all jumpy about me putting electioneering messaging in email. And the subject said your JCTA bid for office. And in the email body, I wrote, I apologize for the vagueness of this email. However, I don't want to do anything that could be considered violation of electioneering district email policy. Please call me and my name and phone number. Like that's I had to be that vague because I didn't want to get her in trouble, right? And so only 2 people out of more than 6,000 received that email. And the very next morning, JCTA sent out an email blast saying that an outside individual was trying to influence and infiltrate elections, and that I was anti-union and anti-something else. I don't remember what all they called me, but it was wrong.
Who is they? So what was this?
What do you mean they?
Oh, okay. So wait a minute. Nicole said something. Apparently Chanel was supposed to be in a different region. Hold on.
Right.
She was
in
she was,
District
but
2.
what it is, because she didn't want to run against Chris Rashid because they're in the same region. So she decided to run for the at-large seat so that her and Chris wouldn't be running against one another. So that's why she's in a different seat that she's in.
But they also changed region numbers too.
I mean, she was in Region 2, and then they moved her to Region 1. I don't know how Chris Rashid, who's at Du Bois, was in Region 1, and Kathy Gunn, who is it? Du Bois was it Region 2?
Well, it said Region 1. There's Region 1. They're both in Region 1.
Now, but she's on the board now representing Region 2.
Oh, that's because what the heck was she at?
Right? And so
I think because from the school that she came from. So what it was is that she transferred to Du Bois in the middle of her term. So if you're in the middle of your term, your region doesn't change. You just continue out your term in that region.
some of the gaslighting that's going on is saying that Nicole is running against Kathy, when Nicole had no way of knowing that Kathy would have run for that seat because she was in a different region last time. And Kathy is presenting it as if she's trying to keep her seat, but in fact, she's not. She's changed regions now. There's no seat to keep if she's in a.
No, it's not saying she was trying to. She never said she was trying to keep her seat.
That's what she's saying to some people.
I have talked to Kathy and I are friends, just like Nicole and I are friends.
Right.
And I've talked to Kathy. She knows it's not she wants to keep her seat on the board, but not the seat that she's currently in, because she can't run like that.
A new race is a new race, and Nicole has just as much right to run for it as anyone else. If I ran for House and didn't win, I couldn't argue with somebody for running against me for Senate. That's completely new race. Like that.
But
it doesn't make sense.
There's a lot of things that are changing with racial issues. Hold on, let me make sure.
But Nicole is also Black, so that.
I understand that, and I didn't say anything about Nicole. I asked you about Cal Schuler.
Different excuse every
we
time.
We didn't endorse Cal Schuler, but
then again, so let me take it.
We're 3 minutes away from the other meeting.
Yeah, I know. But then again, what I'm saying is when other people have a voice, and I'm not saying anything about, because I know Nicole will voice her opinion and she's going to work too. But when other people are putting in, when they're putting in, okay, let me put it to you like this. I'm breaking down to you like, I'm just gonna break it down like this. My church is Canaan Christian Church. I've been there for 20 some years. And I go visit another church. Oh, I'm gonna leave my church to go over here just because I like something that's going on over there. If I'm still being fed at my church, at Canaan Christian Church, if I'm still being fed at my church, why would I leave my church? You only leave when you're not being fed anymore. It's only their time to go again when they're not being fed anymore. So if I'm being fed and I am growing spiritually, I need to stay right where I am. I relate that to the people on this board right now, that they are putting in the work, and nothing, and Nicole knows it's nothing against her at all. I gotta admit, nothing against her at all. Nothing. But when people are putting in their work, how can we say that their time is up?
I look at it this way. Let's do something where it's super exaggerated. What if it were Tia running against Kathy Gunn? I'm sure Kathy Gunn is a wonderful person, but she's not Tia. And I'm voting for Tia.
I know.
No offense.
I'm not saying that, but she is awesome. She's really awesome. And I'm not going to, because she's one that, and Nicole knows too. She's not going to bite her tongue. She's going to put in the work, and she's going to make change. But to be honest, I didn't even see Nicole's name on here at first, I think, when I looked.
Well, and
I saw Kyle Schuler.
I don't understand that. I don't think the get fed mentality or whatever argument.
When people are putting in the work, I don't think
that's justifiable, because the work isn't getting done collectively, regardless if individuals are putting it in. And there's only so many seats that people can have, and there are too many people taking up a lot of the same people taking up too many seats, so that the rest of us that were willing to do the work can't get access to the tools. So we're being shut out, and that means the work.
Who is we being shut out?
Tyra?
Teachers are being shut out.
The teachers, okay. The teachers are being shut out.
Taxpayers.
My eyes have been so opened since I've started going to National Educators United, because I find out what unions are like in other states. And it's amazing. Do you know that in California, every local votes on its endorsements and the entire state votes on who they endorse on a state level? That's not new. That's just how it's done. That's how it's done in Virginia. That's how it's done in North Carolina. That's how it's done, not everywhere but here, but most everywhere but here. They have general membership meetings. We only had one time since I've been a member of JCTA, and I was a student member.
Well, the PRs are a general members meeting as well. They can come to the meetings. That they're not restricted.
We don't say that.
I have said it before.
I'm
said that
just
before.
saying the vast majority of our members have no idea they can go.
Well, that's something that needs to be communicated, but I've said it before. So
You have
and
said
I
it.
have.
And there's
People have said it. People say it at the PR meeting.
there's so much
PRs don't take the message home, but you're right. People do say it at the PR meeting.
there's so much to cover that it can't get done in such choked amounts of time. There needs to be open processes, and that's not happening. It's not happening.
You know, the vast majority of our members have no idea that we have and it's terrible for the union too. We have all these committees that have 20 people on them. That's it. As if there wasn't enough work for 500 people in each of these committees. Now, you're not going to get 500 people, but we could get more than 20.
So also, speaking of being shut out, as a taxpayer and a voter and a concerned community member, through Eros, we were shut out. Dear JCPS was shut out. Latasha Harrison was shut out. So parents have been shut out through PTA too. And this isn't about PTA, but we're seeing a lot of the same parallels with the way that they're managing these elections and people mysteriously popping up in places on the ballot that look like it's really intended to keep someone else from having a solid shot. I did see that happen in PTA, but in Eros in particular, and you haven't been coming to the meetings, so you didn't witness this firsthand, but Greg and Yvonne witnessed it firsthand, and they can tell you if I'm lying or not. And you saw the day I got traumatized and had to jump off the call because the lies had continued to the point where I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And go ahead.
I'll say that it's not black and white, it's gray. And I think Eros and PTA need to be part of that restorative circle that I would love to find someone of Sherry Dawson Edwards caliber to lead that discussion, because I think we all at our heart have the same mission and future in mind. We've got to figure out a more realistic way to work together without to where it doesn't turn into finger pointing because people are running for office. I mean, that's my thought.
Right. And in particular, Tyra, I can document how on a Memorial Day night, several of us that are on the call today got together and made some decisions about how we would counter the Tea Party's petition. And that was with a pro-public education pledge. We wanted to frame it that we were pro-public education and they were anti-public education. It was also a way to run a campaign so we could start collecting email addresses and phone numbers. And as a group, we came up with a consensus and agreed to move forward. And JCTA, who was not even on the call, somehow managed to say, no, we're not going to do this, even though the groups that had been on the, like, I don't understand how somebody can say no to something when they're not even a part of the call. So we even made additional requests to get meetings with the consulting firm because we were told, well, it's what the consulting firm wants to do, right? So we said, well, let us get a meeting with the consulting firm because they don't know our market. They don't know our people. They don't know our passion. They don't know our success stories. Look at all the things that we've accomplished so far, right? Let us just tell them, because you guys, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to do it, but we as a group do. This is our work. And so we managed to talk Chris Harmer into letting us move forward again. And then somehow it still got shut down at the next meeting and sabotaged. Chris Harmer actually sent around an email demoralizing the work that we were doing and warning people not to get on board and misrepresenting what we had done,
Right.
throwing our logos out there when that wasn't even a public website. And so that's part of the accountability, yes, but that's also how I've been shut out. I'm giving you a personal example because I think real life examples demonstrate that. And it wasn't the first time. This is a pattern. The same thing happened with our JCPS. And Nicole Finley was a witness to some of the things that took place the day that Tammy Berlin printed out Michael McLeod's red statement about charters and went around and put it in front of everybody's seat in order to shut us up. And then,
but it didn't shut us up because that was the same day that I spoke for him at that meeting. He was not there. So, and I don't care what they put up. It's still not going to talk. Still not going to stop me from saying what I'm going to say if I feel a certain way. Y'all know how I am when I feel strongly about something.
And I know, and you've been a great champion of Michael McLeod, and I thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Because some people have not been his champion.
Yes, some people haven't. But I am going to say this. I understand that I didn't even realize that we were endorsing people. That's one thing. And like I said, I have to say that's my fault because I work a lot. And so when we have meetings, when I am in a meeting, I can't focus a lot because I'm doing other things. I don't want to tell on myself. Hey, man. But anyway, and what else? But still, and then I do miss a lot because I am at work. So it's kind of hard for me to keep up. So the endorsement and all that, I get it. What I did not know, I'm sorry, did not know that's what we were doing. But when you have people that is sitting on the board, then that means, they may not have time to come to a meeting. They're all meted out. Who wants to come to a meeting after you get off? Only me. I'll sit in the meeting from the time I get off of work at 4 o'clock till 9 o'clock at night. I've done that.
Real quick, I'm sorry.
Yes, you can, boo.
On that here, and this is me talking as a teacher and as a parent. I think that's one of the main problems is that people, they want to sign up for positions and spots that they can't commit to. And so because
I'm not talking about that spot. I'm talking about being on
for meetings.
I'm talking about the people's agenda, Nicole. I'm talking about I missed the people's agendas meeting.
Okay, but I'm just saying, I get you. I'm just saying in general though, when I'm hearing things like, and remember, I'm not on the inside like everyone on this space is, but what I'm saying is though, me on the outside looking in, and that's why whenever I do, whether it be for manual or other community things that I'm in, if I sign up to do something or hold a spot or whatever, like I'm holding a position, if I'm on that committee, I don't miss the daggone meeting. Unless someone's dead or there's something, you don't miss the meeting because it's a priority, and especially when you're dealing with our kids and you're trying to make change, because it's our responsibility to stay in the loop. And in order to do that, we all have to be on the same page and we all have to show up. So otherwise, it's not a priority. I have 4 kids. One is a heart, lung, kidney, stroke patient, and I don't miss a single committee meeting that I'm on. I don't miss meetings. I don't. And I just think that that's one of the problems that I see. And I'm not saying that just for this group or whatever, but just in the schools, that's something that I'm seeing. So there's always playing catch up because this person weren't here. Someone's not doing minutes. Someone's not holding their end. And that accountability piece, it simply has to be there. You have to make it a priority. If we want real change, you need to show up to the table. Not just because you want your spot to be saved for you. And I'm not saying that's you, Tyra, at all. I get it.
No, because Tyra's doing it fine, but there are people who aren't. I was the editor of the League of Women Voters newsletter. And then I realized I was so pressed for time, I was not doing a good job. And so in March, I resigned. They've got somebody wonderful doing it now.
Right.
Because I was not giving it justice.
That's at the school level. It's just something I'm seeing. And when I hear that, as a mom, I'm just sitting here sometimes, I'm like, come on, y'all, you got to show up because it's a priority. You know what I mean? It's like schedule off. It's like
it doubles back to, Nicole, I think, to what Yvonne was talking about. We got 20 people doing the work for 500 and we get spread out so far that there's other people that need to be involved. And that's why I'm saying we can't be, just because somebody throws their name in a hat for election, we get all hot and bothered. I mean, these are names of people that want to make a difference, and we need to find ways to get them involved.
Absolutely.
And then hold the people accountable when you are elected. I don't care how many kids you have. I mean, I don't care, whatever. You have to, that should be a question. You know, it needs to be put in some bylaws somewhere. You know, you need to show up to 95% of these meetings. Here's the calendar of these meetings. I mean, you know what I mean? I just think there needs to be more accountability.
So I do need to keep us on schedule.
That's my 2 cents anyway.
I appreciate that. And
I have to go because Kentucky Alliance meeting has already started.
I want to respond to one thing you said, and that is that you're going to keep speaking up no matter what they say or do. And yes, you do. But when they shut out our communication channels and they stop inviting us to meetings and they vote us off of boards, we're no longer at the table. And that's what's actually happening.
Who's voting who off of boards?
That's what's happening. People are getting, our JCPS was the example that I was using.
Oh, okay.
And they specifically formed a smaller decision-making committee and shut us out. And they would plan events counter to our events so that people would go to theirs instead of ours because they have all the communication channels. They went off and started our JCPS instead of staying within Eros because Eros was being democratically run, and it would be too obvious that they had hijacked all the communication channels if they tried to work within the system. But yet that's what they ended up doing for the tax increase. So we saw what they would have done if they just stayed in the organization, and that's veto power. They exercised veto power when they stayed in Eros, and when they didn't want to try working with us, they just went off and did their own thing so that we couldn't have a voice. And then on Tammy's post, they're out there saying that she quit coming to the meetings because she was the one who took the high road. And for the first time, she's actually saying to you and Tia, you should have spoken up. When in fact, the whole reason that I spoke up is because they weren't hearing you and Tia.
When I didn't see that.
All right,
Okay.
I know you got to go.
Yeah, but yeah, so we'll finish this another time next week or whatever. I see you all. Nice to meet you, Jenna. I know who you are now. That's a good thing.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, guys, we still need to get through the rest of the agenda. So Tyra's leaving us, but hopefully everybody can stick around a little bit longer. We do want to talk about the names on this sheet. So let me go back to the agenda and make sure that I didn't skip anything first. Okay, so we have something called the 1,000 Yeses campaign. I drafted a cover letter that explains it, and it really hasn't been vetted by anybody yet. So let me pull it up if that's all right, and I'll just read it to you, and you guys can tell me if you like it, if you don't like it, what changes we need to make. Hold on. There it is. So Jenna, I created this document for someone like you who is on the ballot and is coming to our meetings because you're interested in an endorsement, and letting you kind of know what you're signing up for if you get our endorsement. And that is you're joining it's our Time JCTA team. And if you choose to tell people you're part of our team or not, that's up to you. But it doesn't mean that we're not going to endorse, but people endorse candidates whether they accept the endorsement or not. That's, you don't have to like embrace us, but we do want to make sure that you agree to these terms if you're going to get our endorsement. And that is, as a candidate, endorsed.
The t-shirt. Tell her the prize first, Johnny.
You know I can't resist a t-shirt.
As a candidate endorsed by the People's Agenda, you will have access to campaign support, a powerful and experienced team, and a $500 marketing budget. And I threw that number together. I have to do the math still and make sure it works, but let's say $400 to $500. Courtesy of an anonymous donor. We did receive an anonymous donation. The People's Agenda works with the Kentuckians for Real Options as their political action committee to endorse candidates and raise funds for their campaign. So in case anybody says, you know, this is really great, can I contribute too? You have a way to send them to a donation link.
Can I do one tiny clarification?
Yes.
The Kentucky Kentuckians for Real Options is a progressive PAC, and they endorse in more than just this.
Yes.
They were behind Charlie Booker and all the usual good people.
Yes. And the tax increase, we took a position on tax increase. We've created this structure so that we can get involved in elections all the way up and down the ballot. So we actually, to participate in different levels of campaigns, you may even need a federal PAC, and this meets federal guidelines as well. And so what we are not allowed to do in the regulated, the campaigns that are regulated by the Kentucky Finance, Department of Finance, Registry of Finance, whatever they call themselves, election, KREF, Kentucky, anyway.
Kentucky, Kentucky Registry of Election Finance.
That one. We follow.
I'm a great sidekick.
We follow all of their rules, but since this is really just a union election, none of those rules even apply. So we can coordinate with candidates because those rules only apply to state and federal elections. So we just happen to have the structure in place. So why not use it? You know, we're over protected instead of under protected in this case, and that's fine.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. In addition to comprehensive support mentioned above, the coalition will also provide the following items: a telephone and email script and access to a master database of names, schools, phone numbers, and home email addresses. And links to both of these will be shared with the candidates upon acceptance to the terms. We're not going to give out that link until, you know, we know that there are infiltrators, and so we're not going to share about our proprietary information if we can avoid it. But that's once we get commitments from the candidates that support our platform, then that's a link that we share. And access to campaign volunteers. I've already put a link out for t-shirts and yard signs, and people have come forward that want to be part of our volunteer team. So we will put them to work. You're going to have a team of volunteers making calls on your behalf. Let's see, and follow-up calls as election day nears. And then you're going to get your own soft red. It's that ring spun cotton. It's really nice. I love JCPS one too, made of the same material. It's I can't think of the brand name. Bella Canvas.
Oh, yes.
Yay. So long sleeve too, because it's cold out. And it's Our Time, which is a play on the Stacey Abrams. It's Our Time. And then the word JCTA on it. So, and there's matching yard signs. And each candidate can have up to 10 yard signs to put wherever. Just I know that without NTI, because it's NTI, the usual ways to get your message out have been completely lost. And then they continue to shut down the ways we try to get creative, so that forces us to have to be even more creative. So even if the yard signs are, you know, you take a picture of it and put it on social media, it still generates the buzz. It still creates the excitement. So we're still going to create a campaign around it and doing the best we know how, right?
Yeah.
And in exchange for access to these items, the candidate agrees to contact 10 teachers per day and ask them to commit to vote for you, and also ask them to collect each of them as you're talking to them. Part of your script is, can you also be thinking of 10 names between now and January 27th? Like, you're giving them a whole week or however many days to come up with 10 more names, and they're going to ask their friends. So you remember the shampoo commercial? I told 2 friends and they told 2 friends. And so we're doing that. That's what we're doing. So you're asking them to tell 10 friends and get 10 yeses. And our goal is to get 1,000 yeses. So between now and January 27th, we want to have 1,000 of the names in the database that say yes. And part of your conversation also is telling them that you or someone from your team will be following up with them to get those 10 names. So you're going to add their phone number to the spreadsheet. You're going to add their email address to the spreadsheet. You can ask them which way they prefer to be contacted. Make sure if you get an email address that it's their home email, so they can't get in trouble for using school email for any of this. Then I or someone on one of the volunteers, I'll coordinate with the volunteers and make sure that everybody does these follow-up calls, so that right before the election starts, and then even after the election's over, we can make more phone calls and canvass, because there needs to be some checks and balances also, because of the concerns that were expressed with the electronic ballot, right? If we have a way to follow up with people and say these 1,000 people said they were going to vote for us. Why does it say only 800 did, or 600 or 400? You know, whatever. We're going to know. We're going to have our own gauge to know whether or not what's being reported is accurate. So I just like checks and balances, right?
Right.
Let's see. We're building a phone email tree like our moms and grandmoms used to do, is what I wrote on here. And you know, if anybody gives us a hard time, because they'll try to figure out a way to still say that we shouldn't be doing what we're doing, but we're getting permission to add them to the list. This is a list built from scratch. And we're telling them and getting their permission to have someone else call them. So it's not like we're giving out lists, because they'll say we are. I had a third thought. If it's such a bad strategy, why is it okay that Charles Booker's Hood to Holler campaign is doing it? Because they're creating a phone tree like this too. So push it back on them. Booyah. All right. You also agree to support the People's Agenda Education Committee's platform. Many of the things you've already been hearing us talking about, but in particular, it rolls up, as far as this election goes, it rolls up into 3 bullet points, and those are a transparent and democratic election. In fact, I added outside 30. Oh, wait, no, that's a different thought altogether. Transparent and democratic elections from outside third-party organizations. So we're not even saying JCTA in particular. PTA also falls under these rules, SPDM. Like, it's not about JCTA. It's about entities that have access to our tax dollars and our kids. That includes restoring term limits. At the JCTA level, you can talk about how, you know, you want to see them restore term limits, because when Brent first got elected, he was able to get term limits taken away. He promised, according to Randy, who's on your ballot, who, if you ever have an opportunity to be someplace and invite others on this ballot to also come and speak about technical issues or things that they're good at, or Rashana Tyson for president. When you are appearing in a meeting, you can invite them, hopefully, maybe, I don't know, to come along, and they can say a few things. And one of the things Randy might talk about is how when Brent first became president and was getting term limits removed, how he told people he was only going to serve for 2 terms and then he was going to be back in the classroom. So there are people that remember that and feel misled, because here we are 20 years later, and he's always come up with some new reason why it's more important now that he stay in power, just like he's doing again. With everything going on, it's just not a good time for somebody less experienced to step up, is the line we're hearing. But in fact, it's never a good time. That's a Martin Luther King tactic. Martin Luther King talked about that tactic being used by white people to hold on to power. So we can reference that, you know, get your quotes handy and make a meme about it and post about it on your Facebook while you talk about why you're running. And, you know, these are things that you can work into your campaign and your messaging. And again, marketing and messaging is my background. So I'm here for you along the way. You want your own customized graphic or your own whatever, I'm here for you. I can do that for you. So
can I add just one little thing, Gay? And, you know, people don't realize what these disparities do. You're at Maupin. So you know it's a poorer school. I mean, I'm sure there's South End schools that aren't majority Black that are in the same thing, where, you know, parents are working 2 jobs. The PTA is made out of 5 people, if they have one.
Right.
You know, when Gay's son went to Shawnee, they didn't even have a crappy PTA. They didn't have one at all. My PTA, I work at a rich school. I'm just going to tell you straight out. I'm blunt. You've noticed.
What? Yeah.
They had a walkathon. So I'm thinking, I'm coming from Westport Tap, where if we raise $250, that's something. And the teachers gave most of it. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just saying, these are all like teen moms. We didn't have a PTA.
Right.
Anyway, so they're having a walkathon, and I'm thinking, well, this is a rich school, so they'll raise maybe a couple $1,000s, right? They raised $20,000. in one walkathon by a bunch of kids.
Wow.
I know. And nobody loved me because they told me when I was not sitting down. I could have collapsed from the heart attack from news like
Wow.
that.
Yeah.
That's ask gay. My school isn't one of the ones with the richest PTAs. One event is 20 grand and they're not in the top 10.
Wow.
So your personal,
See these disparities. You know, we want to change, you know, we wanted to do something in the playground. We wanted to add new swings. We wanted to change the kind of mulch that was there. They did, I don't even know what else. You know, they just do it.
Yeah.
I'm
So-
sure Maupin can't just say, gee, it'd be nice to have a better playground. Yeah, it'd be nice if money fell from the heavens too.
We
You know, it's
just
just as
got a
likely.
playground a few years ago. We
Yeah.
didn't even have a playground till
it
a
was
few years
Waldorf.
ago.
but you got some Waldorf attention, and it got you a new playground that was Waldorf oriented, if I remember correctly.
Well, the Waldorf oriented one was just like a big field with bamboo sticks. And yeah, that was bad.
Okay.
And then
That could have been better.
that could have been better. And then the next year after Waldorf went away, somebody anonymously, I think, donated playground equipment to the school, but didn't have one before, or at least when I was there.
Right. Well, and I saw you said you needed to go at 4:30, so I'm going to try to get through the rest of this letter before you have to.
Yeah. And I just texted I can push a few minutes back.
All right. Well, let's make sure we get through what we have to cover, and then we can talk more about that. So the platform included the transparent and democratic elections, the term limits and stuff that we talked about. It also includes racial justice for all students, and in particular, Black, Brown, and marginalized students living in West Louisville because of the student assignment disparities that have compounded over the last several decades. And also all educators, but in particular, Black, Brown, and marginalized JCTA members because of stories like Kimberly's, right? So we need to be this is why we are raising these concerns, because they are examples, they're real life examples of why change is needed. And so continuing to eat from the trough when the trough is full of shit is not necessarily the good strategy that our Black teachers in particular and our Black students in particular deserve. So fully funded pensions is the third benefit or third bullet point, and it relates to privatization. You know, we're really bigger picture. We're trying to stop the privatization of our public schools. We're trying to stop the great train robbery of taking money from teachers' pensions and putting them in people's campaigns so they can keep coming back. Like they're feeding their own trough and able to stay in power all the way up to Mitch McConnell. I think that we could make a case that the reason that Kentucky can't get rid of Mitch McConnell is because of the things that are happening that remain unaddressed in this grifting privatization scheme. So it'll become more clear, and Randy and others may be who we defer to when it's time to talk technicalities, but it all ties into that. But the pensions is the big buzzword that people relate to right away. So, you know, you can start with that and elaborate more depending on your audience. The pensions need to include new hires. That's a really big piece of it, because what they're doing is cutting it off at the knees so that in a few more years, then there's no more money going in. They're like, oh, shoot, we're going to have to get rid of the whole thing. We didn't think of that. Well, if you'd listened to us, you could have thought of that, because we saw it happen in Rhode Island. We saw it happen. Where else? Yvonne, go.
Detroit.
Yeah, okay. And it's true about the bankrupting of the states and pushing the costs down to the local level, so that local taxpayers have to pick up the tab, and then we're the ones that say we don't want this, and we get rid of it. You know, we get rid of public schools and go to charters and vouchers, and we get rid of
That's what happened in Detroit. Everything she's talking about happened in Detroit. They said, oh, we can't do the pension anymore, pushed it off on Detroit, and then Detroit went bankrupt. The Republican governor then got rid of the city council. You don't want people messing with your Koch brother agenda, okay? they got rid of the mayor and the elected city council, and he put in a comptroller manager who was elected by no one and could be overturned by no one. That's how you heard about the water in Flint that was made by their controller manager. Well, it's the same thing in Detroit.
So, for example,
The schools got terrible because all they did was send money to charters. I mean, it was just a nightmare.
Yep.
People who had pensions were collecting their money. They were giving them like 20 cents on the dollar. They had to go to court. It was awful.
So Yvonne is also running, and so she's another example of someone who you can invite whenever you might get an opportunity to talk about your campaign. She can go into more detail when somebody tries to discredit any of the things that we're claiming, because she is a walking encyclopedia when it comes to this stuff.
I don't know,
Yes,
but I
please.
can do a slideshow.
Yes,
That's the
That you
thing.
can just voice over too.
and watch her video. She just released a video like an hour before or half an hour before our call, where it's 12 minutes of education about all the things that we're talking about. So you don't even have to remember all of these things. You just direct people to this video.
You can do that.
Okay,
Or,
who?
you know, if you want to do your own, we'll do, you know, so that you can be reading and nobody knows. You do the slideshow and it's your voice, and we'll write the script together on any issue you want to talk about. And I'm not saying watch this video because I want you to watch this video. Just watch
I do want to go see it.
watch the first 2 minutes just to see. You know what I'm saying? It's like an example for the kids.
Yeah.
Watch 2 minutes. Oh yeah, I can do this.
Yeah.
So also, our platform is evolving, and that's what the resolution in support of the people's agenda is about. And so because you're coming to our meetings, if there's a concern or you want to weigh in and your vote needs to count, et cetera, there's a process for that. So you're signing on to something that may be evolving, which may create some kind of, wait a minute, I don't know what they're going to do to this thing. And what if I don't agree with the unknown, you know? But that's the beautiful thing of it, is it's democratic and consensus led. So you get a chance to come in and weigh in. And if you can't convince the committee, then, you know, well, let's work on that. Maybe there's something missing from that they know that you don't. So that's why it's really important that we have open, democratic processes and elections and various things. And so we have a 17-member decision-making council that makes sure that they are present at enough of these events and meetings so that they know what's going on, and so that we make informed decisions. And we have some bylaws around this decision-making council that include that it must be a minority population. So when we first created it, we made sure we had more Black members than white members. And we created a structure so that anytime we add new members, and there's still room for 2 new members, so it's not even like it's full yet. If we add more members, you can't add a white member without also adding a minority. And so that is much different than Brent McKim and the Yes for JCPS campaign that they ran for the tax increase, where he put together a 13-member steering committee that was 80% white. And see, again, these are all the seats at all the tables that they told us. That's when they told us to wait. It was because they were off creating this, and then they got to beat us to the punch with our own ideas. Again, that's what they keep doing, is figuring out what we're doing, driving like they're driving, looking in the rearview mirror, trying to figure out where we're going so they can beat us there and attack us in order to slow us down. And so we're just done with that.
Right.
So here's how you contact us. I need to add Yvonne's phone number. I just used mine as a placeholder. Yvonne, what's your phone number?
439 1441. It sounds better in Spanish.
And
1441. Doesn't that sound nice?
And then
That sounds nice.
yeah. So for everyone who's on the call, I'm hoping that the contents of this letter is satisfactory. And so far, Yvonne, and Nicole, you're the only ones that have seen it. So seem all right?
I think it's great. The only thing I would change is there needs to be a space between the parentheses and the 4, because you know that bothers me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Isn't that stupid? I'm not anal retentive about anything else. My house is a pigsty.
And it has to be
but stuff like that.
I get it.
So another thing, Jenna, that we have been doing, like I said, we record these calls, we upload them to our website. So we're holding meetings that are transparent. We are, if your opponent wants to come on and make a case as to why we should endorse them instead of you, we've given them that opportunity, and we've been shut out. So we can blame JCTA and JCTA for that. Because we tried to reach out to some of the unknown candidates, and you saw what happened. So,
Yeah.
at some point we have to stop taking responsibility for the things that they accuse us of, and make them aware that we actually did try to do these things. So,
Right.
but yeah, if you want to catch up on our history and all that, it's out there. It's all out there.
Cool.
Let me go back to the agenda because I know you got to run. Let me just see if there was anything else. This is last week. We need to schedule some Zoom calls or press conferences or debates or a campaign kickoff. And instead of waiting until we can get everybody's heads together, I just threw a tentative date out there for a campaign kickoff and press event on Sunday, January 26th, 2 weeks from today, right? Is that 2 weeks from today?
I think so.
So that gives us time to plan and prepare, and we can also fill in other events and dates along the way. The Justice Now, okay, so this is another thing. The Justice Now kickoff is this coming Thursday. I don't know if anybody's getting invited to actually be seen on the Zoom, but it'd be really great if they did, if they could be wearing It's Our Time t-shirt. So if you find any event that you might be invited to, start wearing your t-shirts on those calls. And I'm having the first batch of them printed, so they should be done by Thursday. And that was my goal, was to see if we could get them on anybody that's going to be on the Justice Now call. That'd be really great. But it's considered controversial, and so we keep losing support, which is it's ridiculous. But anyway. And then an open invitation continues for candidates to come and share their platform. The January 27th People's Agenda meeting, 2 weeks from tomorrow, will be as soon as the event has started, the election has started. So I think we should advertise that meeting will be devoted to hearing from candidates, and that they need to RSVP. And so whoever you're running against is also going to come on, but that's a chance for people to hear both sides, and perhaps even for us, for our candidates to counter any narratives, because they'll be out there saying one thing and you can say, well, actually, here's how it really worked. And so, or they may not take us up on it at all, and that's fine too. That's completely their call, their missed opportunity, if you will. So those are two upcoming dates that I wanted to see if that made sense. And if you guys if it works for you, we can continue to see if it works for others.
Mm-hmm. I think they both should work.
Sunday at 3.
Thursday and the Sunday.
What's that?
Yeah, or the
Another
Sunday
thing,
at 3.
Jenna,
yes.
we've got a friendly reporter named Bruce Maples who's going to be doing a story on the slate. And you can speak to him or not speak to him, but I'm going to be honest, you are the cutest one on the ticket. You and Nicole. I mean, I'm just saying.
I was waiting when you were going to add my name.
I was going to say you.
She's right there, like.
I'm a little fluffy around the edges, but.
I'm an old lady, and Greg's an old man. No, Greg's not really old. He just looks older than he is.
Have you seen the commercial?
Rashana's 50-something. Nicole are young.
Have you seen that commercial that says, age ain't nothing but a number, but then woman says, and mine's unlisted? That's you.
Mine's unlisted.
So
funny.
Let me keep us on schedule, because Jenna has to go. I want to get through the rest of this because we still have some decisions to make. Put those 2 dates on your calendar, but also be looking for more opportunities between now and then to get as many of our messages out, and plug other candidates as you can as well. But we're not calling it a slate because they've already turned that into a dirty word. So, we can think of creative ways to say it, the team, the common shared platform, anything else that we've been calling it, the core team, caucus, it's a caucus, right?
Yeah.
So just don't use the word slate. And Kumar and Tyra have also been endorsed, but they're not using the word slate. So if you're not sure, you can kind of copy some of the things that you see them doing, unless you want to. I mean, you're welcome to be more vocal and aligned with us if you want, but they're gonna see that as an opportunity to attack. So we're not requiring that you do that. Just you can follow
Okay.
the lead of others. Sarah Butrin is another one that will that shares our platform and will probably be endorsed by the Alliance decision-making council, but she's not going to be calling herself part of the team, but yet we will still make marketing materials that have her face and her information, just like we will everyone that we're endorsing. Just like they're going to try to make it sound like we're doing something we shouldn't, but there's so many real life examples out there that it's all just gaslighting. So you know how to ignore gaslighting, right?
Yeah, and they don't have
working
a
on it.
slate. They just all endorse each other
Yeah,
because that's totally different.
yeah.
Right.
Okay, sure.
So Mondays, I told you about Monday night's email, and I've tried to invite people sooner, but the channels of communication are blocked, so they've given us no choices. We're going to do endorsements for remaining slots. I want to pull up that sheet. I can do that now, or we can do that at the end since Jenna has to go. Ignore detractors. Pulling us into those fights on Tammy's page is exactly what they want, because if we're doing that, we're not doing this. And
Exactly.
so, I'm from here on
And
out.
it's much better to argue about slates than to try to defend why we never have general membership meetings.
Right.
Why our members can't vote directly on endorsements. You know.
So what we're going to plan, if we have any money left from these donations, we're going to plan a restorative practices and therapy session for everyone, because that's what we need. We have to heal. We have to take care of ourselves, and we have to atone for the role we played. Everyone has played a role in this, and I'm not innocent. I've done some things, but we have to address. We have to back up to the beginning. We have to have that circle that Greg talked about, etc. So. Eyes on the prize until February 3rd. And even then, we can't trust that the results are going to be true. We have reason to believe that they already know what the outcome of this election is, regardless of what members' votes say. So we gotta keep our eyes on that. Yvonne is looking into having a neutral third party offer some oversight. And if they turn it down, then that tells you something. I've also offered to create an exit survey so that if we feel this is something that could happen, we wait until we know that our 1,000 yeses says one thing and they're saying something else. I could create, based on that email list we're creating, I could make a survey to send out and say, tell us how you voted. And, show them that we've got 1,000 people that tell us they said yes. I don't know. There are ways. We have to be creative, but there are ways to keep this alive if we need to. And so I like to think 3, 4, 5 moves ahead, because we're playing chess, not checkers, right? Anything else on JCTA elections before we tell Jenna good luck and thank you for coming?
I was just gonna ask Yvonne, could I still call you this weekend, either tomorrow or sometime this week?
Sure, whenever. I have an interview at 3:00. Some guy somewhere is doing some big college paper thingish on states that went out on strike. Yeah, history now. So he's going to talk to me at 3, but other than that, I'm free.
Okay, cool.
Do you have my? Oh, you have my number. Never mind.
I think I have your number, and if not, I'll bug you on Facebook. But I'm pretty sure I have it. I just want to go through things and whatnot. So I'll call you tomorrow, just not at 3. And
because I'm doing a Zoom with a guy whose name I can't remember, for a college I can't remember, for a project I don't really remember.
I feel that. Yes. Yes. Okay, cool. Well, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jenna.
Thank you guys.
Thank
be
you.
For me,
What'd you say?
I was talking to everybody. Do y'all need anything from me? I've just been listening.
Yeah, there's a couple more things on the agenda around General Assembly
Okay.
resuming on February 2nd. And House Bill 149, everybody check out Yvonne's video. One of the things that we need to keep working on, we still need to vote or talk about who we're going to vote for, Yvonne. So can you stick around another few minutes?
Sure, I'm good.
Make sure we have, and Nicole, I'd love you to stick around and hear us discuss this. Because we're still trying to get to the bottom of some of the mysteries that are going on. And I talked with Sarah Butrin today and brought up the whole Region 1, Region 2 thing and gave her a little bit of ammo, and also hope that she might be able to help us just figure it out and share the truth, you know, that it's something's not right. They clearly are moving things around to impact the outcome. Right? We just don't know how they're doing it yet. And, but the more eyes on it, the more likely we are to see it. And she's running against Chris Rashid, and he's the other Region 1. Du Bois.
She's white, though, right?
What?
Is she white?
Yeah.
And she's running against Chris?
Yep.
Okay, so I thought that's what they didn't want to. I thought it was like they were trying to.
Who's they?
I'm not they. I thought the language was we want that the goal was to have Black people in the Black spots. So Chris Rashid is running for the same spot that he's always run for. Is that correct?
Yes, he is.
So is it that they're trying that the goal is to keep Black people in the Black spots or no?
So
We tried to get somebody from that spot who was not Chris Rashid, but it did not work out.
Yeah,
and he never shows up.
No, I see some help. So what is it? What is Chris Rashid? What is it? What is it?
I think I understand your question, and I think I have an answer that should make it more clear cut. And that is, there's two things going on, and you just got gaslit by Tyra. So you need to recognize that what she was doing was trying to convince us that we shouldn't be running white people against Black people, because that's the only tools they have left to say that what we're doing is wrong, because we're breaking down every one of their arguments left and right. These are endorsements. These are endorsements of people who have come to our meetings and who have said they support our platform. We have invited Chris Rashid, or we have tried to invite Chris Rashid, and he has not come. So why would we endorse somebody just because he's Black when he won't even come and say, yes, I agree to your platform? What if he throws us under the bus? What if he says, I don't want anything to do with these people? We're not going to endorse somebody that we know is going to, that we don't know won't throw us under the bus. I know that Sarah won't throw us under the bus. She's not going to say she's, on our slate, because we know what they do with that language. But she has said, yes, I agree to this platform term, this platform term. So we're endorsing candidates based on their commitment to what we are committed to. And
so we did. It's not because I was just trying to figure out what was going on.
Right.
I was like, is there something I'm missing with the Chris Rashid? Because I thought this is just what I was thinking. Well, maybe I'm like, well, I thought that we were trying to keep the Black spots, but I didn't understand then why the white person was going against the Chris guy. So I just didn't understand. And I'm hearing too, well, the Chris guy doesn't even come to the meetings. So I'm just a little confused.
Right.
No, asking questions.
You need
my hero.
You need those tools.
Bird, right? He's my guru. Two of the three most important things I learned from Big Bird. And one is asking questions is a good way to find out things.
Yeah, because I just didn't understand. I was like, well, why do we got people on here? Why? I didn't understand, like, okay, because you're talking about endorsing people, you're talking about this and that, but why are we considering endorsing any person who doesn't take it? I'm just wondering that's why I asked you about bylaws. I was like, are there bylaws? Because Are we just voting people because of what they look like or what sex they are, what color they are? Or are we
We've
trying to find people who are actually committed? You see what I mean? So I was just confused.
Yes. And we've invited them to our meetings. They didn't ask for an endorsement. So Sarah didn't ask for endorsement either. So we have to be careful how we word that. But they didn't ever accept our invitation enough to even say if they agreed with this platform. So we can't endorse somebody that might have something horrible on their platform. We need to know that whoever we're endorsing isn't going to have a hand grenade thrown at us, right? And he was invited. He's been invited because we advertise it on our website, and we tried to send emails and they blocked them. So we really don't have any other ways to let Chris know that I can think of. So, and just like with Kathy, when you invited her, she put up barriers because she's been convinced that we're the bad guys. And so whatever, they'll figure it out at the end.
Well,
we were offering all this.
Who's convincing people that you're the bad guys?
Brent and Tammy and all of his harpies.
Oh, that's right, because she's already on there. Okay, gotcha.
And they don't know me. They don't know the work we've been doing. So they believe the lies because it's easier. All these people who speak ill of me, I've never met. Isn't it amazing that these people I've never met know me so well? Other than, I take it back, Tammy and Brent.
That's what people do, right?
Huh?
That's what people do, right? That's what they do. So
Tammy, Brent, and Emily I have met, so I didn't mean nobody, but
But I'll also say that people do not break in to, thieves don't break into empty homes. So
right.
You must be worthy to be spoken about.
Yeah, it's like we're playing that game where it's hotter, hotter, hotter. Man, we must be hot.
No, that's funny.
And another response to that argument that they're going to try to use on us is that, and I can't say this as readily as you can, but all skin folk ain't kinfolk, or all kinfolk ain't skinfolk, right?
Yeah.
But also, that's why we have a decision-making council that decides on these endorsements, and it is majority Black. So the people who decided on who to endorse are Black, are mostly Black.
Well, if they ask for us to endorse, they're going to, listening to them, then won't they endorse Chanel?
No, because we're the committee, and we're taking them a recommendation, and they're going to trust us. That's what we're doing right now.
Well, it sounds to me like Tara may be voting for Chanel or wanting Chanel.
One vote. She is 1 out of 17, and she's welcome to do that. That's democracy in action, and we love that it's transparent like that.
Okay.
We've given her all kinds of options to do things privately when she needs to be private about it, and publicly when she's willing to be public with it. And she's not willing to stand up against the machine. And so that's why you see her stance being different than the rest of us. The rest of us see what's going on. Greg sees what's going on. He supports what we're doing. Danita and many of the 17 members, and I can flip over to that. We've got 2 students, one from Manual and one from Southern, which is where Emily teaches. So, they come on these calls week to week, and some are catching up and or watching the videos or whatever, and they're staying informed. And
who's the Manual kid?
Huh?
Who's the Manual kid?
Liv Bowler.
I don't know who that is.
She's on the communications team. I think she's a senior this year.
What's her last name again?
Bohler.
No, I don't know who that is.
Jamie Miller is the one that sent her my way.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, I mean, whatever those tactics are that they're going to try to use to deflect from what we're doing, the democratic work that we're doing, we can document. We've been recording all of these calls. We have agendas and lists of attendees, and this has been a collective piece of work that if there are enough people that have been coming to the calls that want what we're talking about, that even if somebody like Tyra says we shouldn't do that, she doesn't get to have veto power over the work. She's 1 vote. So we're going to keep it moving based on the consensus that's building. And even though we have some calls that are not as attended as others, sometimes it's just committee work. This is kind of like a committee meeting. Yvonne and I are going to look now at the list of officers and make sure that this is who we want to recommend. And we still don't know Patricia versus Natasha. And I thought of something else I wanted to ask about that, but maybe oh, I know what it is. Go ahead though. We like Jenna. Jenna, I don't know anything about Sarah. Do you, Yvonne or Nicole?
I know nothing.
And, we couldn't reach her. She didn't come to a meeting. Jenna did. Jenna has a story that we love. She's agreeing to our platform.
And I mean, she understands that our kids need more.
They do.
And Brent will tell you, oh, yes, yes, yes. Our Black, brown, and poor kids need more. And that's the end of it. That's the end of his commitment right there.
How? There's no, yeah. Yep, it's just lip service.
Well, there's just, I just think it's just, but I don't know. Again, look, I just think it's just a lack of accountability. And I think for those kinds of positions of work, who's holding them? So are the committees functioning the way they're supposed to? Because how does that happen where he's saying yay, 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 but then there's no accountability there to make sure there are things put into motion to kind of speak directly to those things. Okay, Black, brown kids need more.
I've been to committee meetings, the HCR grassroots committee that is supposed to have like 20 people on it. The meeting didn't last 30 friggin' minutes because there were 4 of us.
Well, there's no problem with that. It's like, it just seems like there's no accountability for anybody. Like, if you're gonna be on the committee, you gotta show up. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to show up, and you can't just
because
be there grading papers. You need to be there, and you need to be present.
How do you hold them accountable if they can tell you that they did something at the last meeting and you can't say, wait a minute, I was there. I didn't see you do that.
Why can't you? Who's doing the minutes?
Well, the minutes don't say who did what sometimes. The minutes don't say what they thought. I've seen some really ridiculous minutes that just say we discussed.
And if they're all in it together, who's going to rat out who out? Did you see Tyra talking about Chris Rashid missing most of those? No, she's defending because he's got kids.
Well,
okay.
But you heard me. I got 4 in the ones on page. So, and I don't miss my meetings. So if I'm on a certain committee, if I'm on that and Nicole is on that, if I'm on that racial equity, I'm showing up. It's what you do. Otherwise, don't show up. Or if you can't, and I guess if you're overcommitted, you just say, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to step down. And you're like what you said, Yvonne, you just have to do that because our kids are worth fighting for. And you can't fight for them if you don't show up.
You can't fight for them if you don't show up.
Those are some, how can you hold them and how hypocritical is it for them to try and hold somebody else accountable, even if they are trying to hold Britain accountable, if they're not holding each other accountable to show up?
You just have to show up. And I get it. It's a hard time. Things are bad. But the solution to we don't have enough people is to make sure we don't get more. That's definitely not a solution to we don't have enough people.
Well, the thing is, you need to have more people.
You have people who are JCTA board members, and then they're the committee chairs, and then they're this, and then they're that. And I'm like, you've got one person who's got 6 jobs, and nobody can do that all. Why are you so interested in concentrating in the fewest number of people?
Well,
and you can't do it well. If you are doing it, you're not doing a very good job at it.
Especially and this brings back the argument that when Greg was on the call and Tyra was on the call, we were talking about, and that's that we have these people trying to get access so we can volunteer. And then there's all these people squatting, preventing us from doing so. So it's not like there's nobody willing to serve because we're all here trying to get in.
But do you think, but you have to understand that political part, right? Because they've got to control their platform and their base. They have to control who's coming in and who's not.
Right.
So
and
if they do let you come in, you know what I'm saying? I understand that.
Right, but there's a fair way to do it, and there's a cheating way to do it, and they're using the cheating way.
And I think that's unfortunate. But I do understand. Now I understand the PTA, and because they want to make sure they can keep certain kind of control, and I get that. But the same token, like what you're saying, there's no reason to be underhanded when you do that kind of stuff. Just be, just if you do what you're supposed to do, meaning if you're worried about, you being inclusive and letting more volunteers come in or community members or whatnot, just make sure the people who are assigned to your base show up too. That's your control factor. Your problem happens is when your base doesn't show up, but the volunteers are showing up more than your base. That's when the problem happens.
Right.
So that's why you gotta have a strong base. So then it wouldn't matter so much if you've got people coming in.
Exactly. And right is right and wrong is wrong. And, we have to keep people focused on those issues. And when people do things that are clearly manipulative in order to control an outcome, we call it out, because that is what has led me to realize. I didn't know this when I first got in the fight, that this was about race. I had no idea this was about race. I was 3 or 4 years in, and I even told Michael to stop talking about race so much. He'll tell you that. So,
I miss seeing him around.
huh?
I miss seeing him around.
I know it's about to come around again though. And, so my point is I finally had my eyes open to see the patterns and the parallels and to realize that they were pushing PTA. And I told this to Marty, like Marty's been informed and he can't deny that he hasn't been told. I said, I didn't see it at first, but now I realize this is about white supremacy. This is about white people figuring out ways to rig the elections so that their people can stay in power. And if we truly cared about democracy, we would be willing to have open meetings and open dialogue. And, you can still control it. We're not saying complete chaos, but make it accessible and clearly communicated. And if you get greater demand, then you have capacity, then you find a way to push those conversations further down at the more local level so that it keeps rolling up. And that's why it's so exciting to be working with KEU and NEU, because this does roll up and it rolls down. We're trying to get into the school levels with PTA and PTO. Like the things that they should be doing, we're having to model for them. And that's really what this comes down to. We're modeling democratic processes that they can't seem to figure out how to do. And if when you tell them they still refuse to do it, you have to assume they have a different agenda. And you have to hold them accountable and call it out and tell their peers that's what they're doing. And that's where we are in this accountability process.
Well, and it's so many things,
And I do have to get off onto this alliance call that they started an hour ago. I'm missing my board meeting.
Sorry, give me 2 minutes. One of the things I find most frustrating is you recommend that they do something and they blow you off and they blow you off and they blow you off and they blow you off. So you just say, screw it. I'll do it on JCPS leads. And then a week later, that's what it takes to get them to do it.
Yep.
They did not have a Facebook group for their membership or their PRs until after JCPS leads.